So households that are making between 2 to 5 lakhs per month, they are still not able to somehow save for a larger purchase like a house, or even save just for the sake of investments. What is the biggest mistake that they're doing right now?
So, Kshitij, I feel most of the people who are at a good salary or maybe making a good business income of 2 to 5 lakhs a month, they are scared.
Okay.
They are scared of automating their investments. They are scared of tracking their expenses. They are scared of tracking their lifestyle inflation. So, starting with your tracking of expenses, right? Everyone has a phone.
Yeah.
In that phone, either you have your Google Sheet or your Excel. All you need to do is just track your expenses. Let's say if you're earning 3 lakhs a month, any expense which is more than 3,000, why not just note it down on your Excel sheet? If you don't want to do that as well, there are some accountants which you can hire. They charge all these accountants, maybe a freelancer, they would charge just 2,000 rupees a month. For a person who's earning 3 lakhs a month, he would not spend a fortune just by giving 2,000 a month to their accountant, because accountant will actually verify what are your unnecessary expenses that you can avoid. Maybe something like a Netflix, जो आपने 1,000 रुपए का plan लिया हुआ है, you can also take a 200 rupees plan,
Yeah.
maybe 149 rupees plan on Netflix. So why to unnecessary keep adding so many expenses? So just by tracking that, maybe you can avoid that. Second is identifying your lifestyle inflation. I have seen a lot of my clients, Kshitij, who, as their salary increases, their investments are not going up. Just that their expenses are piling up month by month.
Right.
And lastly, automate your savings before spending. So I usually tell my clients at Brew Wealth, if your salary is coming on the first of every month, between second to fifth is the date that your SIP should go out.
Okay.
Because the moment you start investing before spending, that is where you see your snowball effect of your wealth creation. We have a simple thumb rule at Brew Wealth: save minimum 20% of your salary,
Mm-hmm.
invest ideally 30% of whatever you're making on a monthly basis,
Okay.
and increase your investments with every appraisal.
Okay.
Because Kshitij, wealth is not about income, it is about the gap between earning and spending on a monthly basis.
Got it.
Please don't start investing in SIPs. SIP is powerful but not magical. An SIP alone cannot create wealth. People think that mutual funds are for everyone. As your wealth keeps increasing, you also need to look into structured products. One of our clients reached out to us. His child's age is 1. He said, Sudhir, I want to invest for my child for the next 30 years. I will just show you that plan, Kshitij.
Is there a strategic way to invest your annual bonuses?
अभी जब तक ट्रम्प है अगले 2 साल, राइट, वॉलेटिलिटी रहेगी मार्केट. ट्रम्प जब जाएगा तब देखा जाएगा, लेकिन जब तक ट्रम्प है, प्लीज गोल्ड खरीदते रहो. ऑब्वियसली मोदी इज सेइंग नो फॉर गोल्ड. इट इज डिफिकल्ट फॉर यू टू मेक मनी व्हेन यू आर इन डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमी.
Now let's talk windfall investments.
One of our clients unfortunately lost his brother. भाई ने NPS में इन्वेस्ट किया था. It's been 1.5 years. The brother is still struggling to take out investment. These insurance companies are also very smart. What they do, they will make you the proposer and make the child the life insured. One of my client actually got around 30 lakhs. So the benefits of investing in SIF is, so follow सबको करो अपनी मन की, खुद का रिसर्च करके करो. Because it's trending investments create noise.
Right.
But your structured investments will create wealth for you.
Sudhir Mulchandani has made it his life's mission to make sure that you retire wealthy and early. Sudhir brings over 15 years of institutional experience from working with companies like Citibank, HSBC, with an MBA from the Wellington Institute and a CISR certification. He provides customized investments, retirement, and estate planning services to secure your long-term financial health. Hi Sudhir, welcome to the show.
Hi Kshitij, thank you for having me.
So we got introduced to today's guest on the Entrepreneurs Arc. It's a thriving community of builders, entrepreneurs, investors, agency owners who love to collaborate, to share knowledge and work with each other. They also meet up on a weekly and monthly basis in person and online to extend their network and help each other out in any way possible. If you really want to be a part of this aggressively growing cohort, please check out Entrepreneurs Arc on this website link. We also have the joining forms links in the description. Please check them out. Back to the video. So, why do so many high earners fail to actually build wealth despite bringing home like large sums of money of salaries every month? For example, we have seen some posts on LinkedIn, right, where they're earning in literal crores, and still they would say that they're failing to achieve their financial goals.
So Kshitij, I feel high income creates illusion that there is financial safety.
Okay.
In fact, it is the opposite. Most high earners, they build very slowly.
Mhm.
I'll tell you an example. They have expensive homes, multiple EMIs, luxury cars, status driven lifestyle. So we were discussing before the shoot that you can actually drive a Swift.
Right.
क्या जरूरत है BMW लेने की?
Yeah.
Swift would cost you 10 lakhs, but they just want to compete and show around the world that the society that they're living in, they can very well take a BMW 6 Series, right?
Yeah.
क्या मतलब है इतनी महंगी गाड़ी लेने की? गाड़ी के 4 टायर है. The job of the car is just to take you from place A to place B. So why would you want to show off to people? Why do you actually need an expensive home? It is not required. You can stay in the same society. So in the same society, there is a 2 BHK which is costing you 3 crores, but people may opt for a 4 BHK, which is costing you around 10 crores. जरूरत है तो लो. Just to showcase to the people, I know people that there are just 3 members in the family, they are living in a 4 BHK.
Okay.
And this is just to show that, you know what, that we can afford.
Right.
And eventually, if the salary is even 5 lakhs, they are paying an EMI of 2 lakh rupees per month.
Mm-hmm.
उसके बाद 60,000 गाड़ी का आपका EMI हो गया.
Right.
Then there is child education. You won't put your child obviously in CBSE and ICSE. If you're earning at that level, you will put your child in a IG school, an international board school. वहाँ का cost भी 50-60,000 a month हो जाता है, 10 lakhs a year.
बाप रे.
Things are getting very expensive if
You let them be expensive.
right.
So especially for budding earners, like young guys who are just coming into the workforce, what are the biggest lessons to learn and mistakes to avoid in order to make sure that high income financial fiascos are avoided?
So I will talk about 3 lessons here. First is your first decade matters the most.
Okay.
Let's say you start earning at the age of 22 after your post graduation, or maybe at 23.
Okay.
Start investing from day one.
Okay.
Even if you're doing an internship or a full-time job, if you're able to save 20 to 40% of your salary and start investing that, your compounding will reward you, because early starters get a lot of benefit of snowball effect.
Right.
Second, avoid permanent liabilities too early. इंडिया में देयर इज अ मिसकंसेप्शन कि सबको घर लेना है जैसे ही कमाना स्टार्ट किया.
Right.
People are not even earning 60,000 a month and they would have a 25 to 30,000 ka EMI.
Okay.
It creates a lot of pressure on youngsters right now, because if you actually take a permanent liability early, you would be stuck in a bad job forever,
Right.
because you would not be aware कि यार चलो next job में जाएंगे, so what is the guarantee that my next employer will be keeping me in that job for the next 5 years?
100%.
Because of which sometimes it feels claustrophobic for people who have taken big loans at a very early age. Third lesson that I tell my clients: increase your investments as your salaries goes up.
Okay.
So don't upgrade your lifestyle at the same pace as your salary is increasing.
Okay.
If your salary is increasing by 10%, just inflate it by 10%. Not that salary 10% बढ़ गई तो पूरा का पूरा खर्चा अपने expenses में डाल दिया. Increase your investments also.
Right. So basically what you're saying is, as far as lifestyle inflation goes, it is always better to be one step behind on your lifestyle expansion compared to your increment.
Correct.
So if you are going from a junior level to a higher level management, still try to maintain a senior level expense rather than trying to compete with the VP level expenses.
Certainly. And for the first couple of decades of your life, try to live a frugal life.
Okay.
Because once you get married, you're not sure if your wife will be earning or not. What if your wife says that she doesn't want to, she wants to take a break for 5 years?
Yeah.
And then eventually you're blessed with a child.
Yeah.
Your wife or maybe you will have to take a break. One of you would have to step back in your career.
At least temporarily.
At least temporarily, because right now we are living in not in the joint family mode.
Correct.
At least in
Nuclear
Bombay, what we
families
see-
demand that one of the parents has to either work from home, take a step back, and I do see families doing a combination of these things, right? I have friends where both the parents have taken work from home and they still go to the office, but they each go once a week. Thankfully, employers are genuinely helping. COVID has helped in making employees understand that, boss, your employees are still sort of 80-90% there in terms of productivity. Just because you can't see them physically, it does not mean that they're not going to be productive.
Correct.
So that does help. But like you said, anything could happen, right? So what is the one common piece of advice that you see everywhere, but you personally strongly disagree with?
So first, I think a lot of people say just invest and forget.
Okay.
One of the big investment firms in India say that, you know what, just invest and forget about anything else.
Okay.
Believe in more in coffee can investing. Now, what does coffee can investing actually mean? Coffee can investing का मतलब है कि let's say this is your coffee can. This is your coffee can. Put all your investments here. Forget about it. Today you're 20. Once you turn 60, open those investments, and maybe out of 10 stocks, 5 would have been in junk, 3 would have been given you average returns, but 2 will actually make you rich.
Right.
Right? But अब ये वैसा ज़माना नहीं है.
Okay.
अब ये है कि इसकी टोपी उसके सर.
Okay. What does that mean?
You have to make sure that you review your portfolio every quarter. You do proper tax optimization.
Okay.
You're doing rebalancing if your funds, if your stocks are doing well or not.
Mm-hmm.
You need to work according to your goals.
Okay.
If your goals are for the next 10 years, then it is okay that you can invest in some good companies and forget about it. But if your goal is in the next 3 years, you can't be lying around that चलो 3 साल के बाद देख लेंगे क्या होगा. You have to hire a professional guide who will help you, who will review your portfolio once every quarter, with you, without you, maybe once every 6 months, or whenever your financial situation is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Because your salary will keep increasing, or maybe nowadays there are salary cuts as well. Right? So you have to accordingly work out your portfolio. This is number one. Second, what I feel, Kshitij, people think that mutual funds are for everyone.
Right.
Mutual funds are absolutely for everyone, for your driver as well and for you as well. But as your salary or as your wealth keeps increasing, you also need to look into structured products. There are SIFs, there are PMS, there are AIFs, right? There are some structured investments also. There is also a debt market which is bigger than equity market in the country.
Okay.
But most of the retail investors miss this.
Got it.
So these are the two misconceptions I think that people have, and maybe they should work on this.
Got it. And when you mentioned all of these products, right, I couldn't even like remember half of the acronyms that you mentioned. So how do you simplify the idea of investing to someone who, just like me, would feel obviously intimidated by all of these jargons and would generally feel very overwhelmed by the process?
So Kshitij, I feel I compare investment to fitness.
Okay.
You don't become fit from one workout.
Correct.
You have to do it consistently, right? If you're investing, invest consistently,
Mm-hmm.
because greed actually takes over. Discipline can be broken.
Yeah.
Just by seeing one market fall, or maybe since the last 2 months or 3 months, you would have seen what has happened in Iran, Israel.
Yeah.
In fact, in the last 5 years, there have been so many wars. It started with Russia, Ukraine.
Correct.
Israel and Hamas, there was some issues.
Right.
Israel, Palestine, Iran, Israel happened. Pakistan, Afghanistan happened. For a short brief, India, Pakistan also happened.
Correct.
Everyone saw market underperforming or maybe performing, but still in the last 5 years, market has given good returns.
Right.
Maybe around 10 to 12% returns on a yearly basis, even after all these challenges.
Got it.
Just that in the last 1.5 years, markets have not performed well.
Right.
So you have to trust the process, trust your advisor, trust your fund manager, let them do the job.
Mm-hmm.
आपको अपना काम करना है पैसे कमाने में. Let people manage your portfolio and you're good to go.
Now, is SIP alone enough to build wealth with especially these kinds of variables, or do you think the concept of SIP itself is a bit oversold right now?
Kshitij, SIP is powerful but not magical.
Okay.
An SIP alone cannot create wealth.
All right.
You have to make sure SIP is included with SIP plus step up. SIP is continued for long duration, because first 5 to 7 years of your SIP, you will not see any growth.
Okay.
Most of the growth will just come from your investments, because in the first 3 to 5 years, in fact, the market is going to be very volatile.
Right.
अगर आप 10,000 भी इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो मंथली, तो जितना आपने इन्वेस्ट किया शायद आपका SIP वैल्यू उतना ही होगा. And this is where most of the people lose patience and they stop their SIPs.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, 5 से 7 साल तो छोड़ो, there are clients who work with us. One of the clients started an SIP 1.5 years back.
Okay.
He just texted in our WhatsApp group yesterday that, Sudhir, I want to stop my SIPs because I'm not seeing any growth.
Okay.
We showed him the chart and everything कि boss ये देखो क्या हुआ है पुराने SIPs के साथ.
Right.
उस बीच में जो 10 का NAV था, that would have actually fallen down to 5.67 also.
Right.
So if your investment value is 5 lakhs, it could very well go to 2.5 lakhs. If you don't have the appetite, please don't start investing in SIPs.
Got it.
आप RD करो, 6% में खुश रहो. 6% की महंगाई है, 6% का RD है. Don't even beat inflation. At least your money will be stagnant.
Correct.
Because SIP is going to be volatile. If you are not ready for the volatility, don't invest in SIP, because you will have to give it time.
Right.
And only if the investor is remaining patient and your income keeps rising and you're investing more, that is when SIP will actually work like a magic for you.
Got it.
नहीं तो SIP कोई जड़ी बूटी नहीं है.
And that makes sense, right? Because I think looking at the overall volatility, right? You have things like futures and options, you have forex, which swing a lot, commodities. Then you have comparatively stable things like stocks, but then their stability increases as you bundle them. You have your Nifty 50, S&P 500, and even more stable versions of these are your mutual funds. So if you look at it, it is sort of a fifth level of stability. And even in that, if people are going to be scared, sometimes I question if investment is a thing that they should be even looking at, or should they just, maybe get into real estate or buy something as like something like too stable as gold or something, which even right now is a bit volatile, but
Right, because of all what
everything, yeah.
Prime Minister Modi has told.
So, which brings us to the sort of narrative of the future, the present and the future, right? We have a lot of these AI salesmen saying all jobs are going to go away, everything is going to be done by AI, etc. Now, let us say we even buy into that logic. What happens over the next 20, 30 years if jobs really go away? How could parents right now ensure that their kids, their babies right now, by the time they're 20 or 30 years old, if job market really is that non-existent, how can parents ensure that the future of their children is secure? What is there any instrument that they can look at?
Yes, Kshitij. In fact, last week, one of our clients reached out to us. His child's age is 1. He said, Sudhir, I want to invest for my child for the next 30 years. क्योंकि मुझे पता है, I am 30 today, and until 60, I am going to earn. Even if AI takes away my job, कुछ ना कुछ काम करके मैं कमा लूंगा. And
Yeah.
I want to invest 40,000 per month. I don't even want to do step up. मैं 40,000 per month I will invest for my child, but I want to make sure the day I retire at the age of 60, मेरा corpus तो अलग रहेगा. I want my child also to earn from an SWP. I will just show you that plan, Kshitij. Just give me 1 second. Yeah.
So while you're showing that, what is an SWP?
Sure. So SWP is systematic withdrawal plan. Everyone is aware about SIP. SIP is मतलब first को
Systematic
salary आई,
investment plan.
second को आपने invest कर दिया, it goes out from your account.
Yeah.
SWP is something that comes to your account on a monthly basis.
Okay.
It is exactly like your salary.
अच्छा.
25 तारीख को सैलरी आती है, अच्छा लगता है. It is like a drug. SWP exactly works the same way. So whatever investments you're doing in your mutual funds today, let's say, and you don't need the money today, right? अभी तो आप कमा रहे हो. Now you're in accumulation phase. There are 2 phases in everyone's life. One is accumulation phase when you're earning and investing. Second is distribution phase.
Okay.
The day you retire, you're not going to get a salary.
Right.
And just 2% of population may be in government job. 98% के पास pension नहीं आने वाली है, because most of the people don't even invest in NPS or pension products. So that is where SWP will be a good option for them, wherein they can invest for first 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, make a customized plan for yourself, and then start doing an SWP on a monthly basis.
Got it.
So the plan that I shared with my client, maybe you can show it in your screen also. पहले के 30 साल invest करो for 40,000 per month, and then on a monthly basis for the next 30 years without adjusting inflation, 11,90,000 you can withdraw for the next 30 years.
Okay.
And still at the end of 61st year, you will be left with a corpus of 6 crores.
So this is 11 lakhs per year.
11 lakhs per month, 11,90,000 per month.
Per month?
Yes.
11
And
lakh?
what we have assumed 12% returns in both accumulation and distribution phase.
Okay. All right. So investing 40,000 per month for 30 years would give you the ability to withdraw 12 lakhs, roughly 12 lakhs per
11,90,000 to be precise.
1190 per month.
Per month.
For the next how many years?
30 years again.
For 30 years?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like a total 60-year horizon.
Yes. So let's say you just have a newborn baby today. आज ही उसके नाम पे 40,000 rupees per month invest करना start करो. And invest for the next 30 years.
Okay.
Assuming that you're also young and you are going to work for another 30 years, right? So it will be very easy for a parent who's earning around 2.5 to 3 lakhs minimum to invest 40,000 in बच्चे का नाम पे. वो तो emotion होता ही है, right? उतना invest कर दो. Your child, when the child becomes 30, if he is earning or not earning, if AI is taking away his job or not, he will start getting 11,90,000. This is not guaranteed, obviously. There is no guarantee in mutual fund, but we are still assuming 12%. Mutual fund से ज़्यादा returns भी दिए करते थे in the past. Equity based mutual funds. हम लोग फिर भी conservative जाके 12% बोल रहे हैं because this is regulated by AMFI. And AMFI के best practice के हिसाब से we should tell 12%. और 12% के हिसाब से भी that person is doing an SWP of 11,90,000 Kshitij. And at the age of 60, child will have a 6 crore corpus. I know 6 crore would not be a lot considering inflation and everything.
From now, yeah.
बट फिर भी बहुत होगा ना। आज के टाइम पे अगर 25-30 लाख भी किसी को मिलता है,
Right.
1 करोड़ भी मिलता है तो बहुत अमाउंट है, राइट? तो 6 करोड़ उस टाइम पे बहुत बड़ा अमाउंट होगा।
Very much. And
एंड ऑब्वियसली, सॉरी टू
yeah,
कट इन मिडल, ऑब्वियसली द चाइल्ड विल आल्सो बी वर्किंग और अर्निंग। ऐसा नहीं कि उसे पेरेंट के इनकम पे डिपेंडेंट है।
right.
द पेरेंट का जॉब ये है कि ही जस्ट वांट्स टू मेक श्योर, ही और शी जस्ट वांट्स टू मेक श्योर कि बच्चे का फ्यूचर सिक्योर रहे, चाहे मैं रहूं या ना रहूं, चाहे एआई आ जाए, इफ ही हैज अ जॉब और नॉट।
Right. So basically, ensure roof over your head, food on the table, clothes on your back, that kind of a situation.
सर्टेनली,
At the very least.
एट द वेरी लीस्ट।
And I think by that time, 12 lakhs per month would still mean a sizable thing 30 years from now also.
तो निकल जाएंगे,
Right.
बेसिक एक्सपेंसेस निकल जाएंगे।
True.
मैं लाइफस्टाइल इन्फ्लेशन की बात नहीं कर रहा, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट रादर देन लोनावला योर चाइल्ड विल बी ट्रैवलिंग टू यूरोप एवरी मंथ, नो।
Yeah.
उसके लिए उसको काम करना पड़ेगा,
Correct.
बट उसके बेसिक एक्सपेंसेस निकल जाएंगे।
And even just that freedom alone is good enough for someone to build themselves up, even if it's a worst case situation.
एब्सोल्युटली, यू आर राइट।
Now, the same parent, okay, like you said, right, they might have a 30-year career ahead of them. For that same professional, what should a core portfolio look like other than these kinds of investments? Like, is that still 60-40 rule relevant even today?
So rules have changed a bit because of depreciating rupee that we've seen. पहले तो रुपी depreciate 3% a year हो रहा था, but in the last 1 year, because of all this geopolitical situation that we've seen, rupee has gone from 85 to 96 almost.
Yeah.
In fact, it was even touching 97 the other day.
I think in the foreign markets, it touched 100.
Right. So earlier people were not having foreign allocation. Right now there are certain mutual funds wherein you can have international and global exposure. So maybe right now, earlier we were not recommending this to clients, but right now it makes a lot of sense to have 10 to 20% as an exposure to your international mutual funds as well.
Excellent.
There is Gift City, which has also opened up. Few of the mutual fund houses are taking investments as low as $5,000. Right?
These are one time or monthly?
One time.
That's good.
$5,000 US dollars.
Which is around 5 lakhs right now.
Right. Mota 5 lakhs. 60% should ideally be in Indian equities. Around 15-20% can be in international equities. 10% का जो thumb rule है for gold, that still remains a good option.
Even with the high prices?
Even with the high prices, because gold will always act as a hedge whenever there is volatility. अभी जब तक ट्रम्प है अगले 2 साल, राइट?
Right.
वॉलेटिलिटी रहेगी मार्केट में।
100%.
ट्रम्प जब जाएगा तब देखा जाएगा, लेकिन जब तक ट्रम्प है प्लीज गोल्ड खरीदते रहो। 10% ऑब्वियसली मोदी इज सेइंग नो फॉर गोल्ड।
Right.
फॉर योर ओन पर्सनल पोर्टफोलियो थोड़ा बहुत गोल्ड अलोकेशन होना चाहिए। इफ यू ऑलरेडी हैव फिजिकल गोल्ड इन योर एट योर होम एंड इट इज अराउंड 10%, तो जरूरत नहीं है। नहीं तो यू कैन ऑलवेज गो फॉर अ गोल्ड म्यूचुअल फंड।
Right.
एंड लिटिल बिट ऑफ डेट ऑल्सो, बट मोस्ट ऑफ इंडियंस हैव अ ह्यूज डेट पोर्शन इन टर्म्स ऑफ एफडी और इन टर्म्स ऑफ रियल एस्टेट।
Got it.
अगर वो ऑलरेडी है एंड यू हैव 6 months ऑफ एक्सपेंसेस, देन यू कैन गो ahead with this allocation.
Got it. I think that way, Indians, Chinese, mostly Asians, have a better allocation of asset with being a little heavy on the real estate side compared to the US, where I think around 60% of general people's assets go into actual equity, which is causing a lot of bubble-like situation over there.
Correct.
And plus, I think even as far as the gold part that you mentioned, right? Even the PM has asked for the control in gold sales. He has called it out as a temporary measure. So even if we look at the next 6 months and don't buy gold, I think the advice that you're giving still stands.
Right.
Because, okay, fine, you can not buy for the next 6 months, but definitely continue to invest afterwards.
Correct.
This also brings the point that there's volatility happening. There's a lot of information right now. There are influencers, financial influencers, individuals. They might be certified agents, they might not be. Because there's a lot of research going on, I see that there have become sort of two parts, right? One is the trending investment advice. Another is more of a stable advice coming from guys like you. So what should a person do? Should they follow these influencers and go for the trending advice or do the other way around?
So follow सबको करो,
Okay.
करो अपनी मन की, खुद का रिसर्च करके करो।
Okay.
Because Kshitij, trending investments create noise,
Right.
but your structural investments will create wealth for you.
Okay. So is there like a general percentage that you would say keep 5% or 10% every month for these kinds of endeavors, or
See, firstly, if you're investing, if you're talking about cryptocurrency or if you're talking about FNOs, my personal opinion is you should avoid. But still, if you want to try, maybe 5% of your wealth,
got it?
which you're okay to lose.
Right.
If you're not okay to lose that 1% also, तो मत करो.
Got it.
Otherwise, just focus on structural kind of investments. As good as your bonds, डेट फंड्स, एफडी कर लो, कुछ नहीं समझ में आ रहा तो।
Right.
अगर रिस्क लेना तो थोड़ा म्यूचुअल फंड्स में कर लो, इक्विटी बेस्ड म्यूचुअल फंड्स में।
Got it. And especially with the latest income tax reforms, right? Is the era of tax savings essentially dead, or should high earners still look at instruments like NPS, ELSS?
So majority of investors are not going for the old tax regime now,
Right.
right? Almost 90% of our clients, I'm just talking about our clients data, 90% of our clients have chosen to go in the new tax regime,
Acha.
even with the higher income.
Okay.
इट मेक सेंस राइट, जिसका भी 15 लाख के ऊपर इनकम है वो बेटर है ईयरली कि आप न्यू टैक्स रेजिम में ही जाओ, बिकॉज देयर इज नॉट मच लेफ्ट इन द ओल्ड टैक्स रेजिम.
Correct. Correct.
But again, out of those 90% of our clients, there are still few clients who want to go for ELSS funds.
Mm-hmm.
अब वो चूज कर रहे हैं न्यू टैक्स रेजिम, बट दे आर स्टिल ऑप्टिंग फॉर न्यू ELSS funds.
Okay.
बिकॉज दे से सुधीर मुझे 3 साल का लॉक इन है ना, चलेगा.
Acha. They are okay with that.
क्योंकि कुछ तो लॉक इन में रहे. रियल एस्टेट के अलावा देयर इज नथिंग इन लॉक इन.
Hmm.
एंड बिकॉज म्यूचुअल फंड आर सो इजी टू सेल, ऐप पे जाओ और बेच दो. So they just want to put themselves in a bind or something कि चलो मुझे 3 साल के लिए पैसा निकालने नहीं है. So it is dead obviously, but for people who believe in structured investment, they are actually enforcing such investments on them. NPS personally, Kshitij, I'm not a big fan of right now.
Acha.
Because I'll give you an example. One of our clients who stays in Pune unfortunately lost his brother. His brother's age was 45. भाई ने NPS में इन्वेस्ट किया था. It's been 1.5 year. नॉमिनी ये सब बराबर था, सब कुछ ठीक से किया हुआ था.
Okay.
It's been 1.5 year. The brother is still struggling to take out investments.
Is it?
मैंने लास्ट 2 महीने से उन क्लाइंट से बात नहीं की है. He told he'll come to Bombay and we'll help him with NPS office जाके. He's yet to come here. जैसे ही वो आएंगे obviously we'll help him. But imagine वो भाई ने पूरे पैसे डाले थे NPS में, बहुत पैसे डाले थे. अराउंड 20-25 लाख पड़े NPS में. म्यूचुअल फंड्स तो हमने उनको करवा के दे दिया, सब हो गया.
Right.
But NPS के लिए he'll have to come personally to Bombay and we'll have to help him. Or whenever I'm going to Pune, I'll have to help. लेकिन अभी तक वो उतना स्ट्रीमलाइन नहीं है. आई होप द गवर्नमेंट इज डूइंग समथिंग ऑन दैट पार्ट. कर लो जल्दी से, तो एनपीएस इज आल्सो अ गुड ऑप्शन टू इन्वेस्ट इन.
All right. NPS is National Pension.
नेशनल पेंशन स्कीम, यस.
And typically, what kind of returns does NPS give?
इट वर्क्स एग्जैक्टली लाइक योर इक्विटी. 10%, 12%, थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर भी आ जाता है कभी.
Okay. Are there any hidden benefits in the latest tax reform that high income earners might be missing out?
So Kshitij, I would say the biggest hidden benefit is simplicity. People can now focus more on wealth creation, cash flow, and investment quality.
Okay.
Earlier, just because of these tax benefits, there were a lot of people who were buying these poor products just for the cause of deduction. कि चलो एक यूलिप ले लिया, bad insurance policy, unnecessary hook-ins, weak tax saving products. Now at least people know that this was not a scam, but this was not actually required. In fact, Kshitij, a funny story. One of my clients, while I was working for a bank, an MNC bank, he was staying in tier 3. He called me, Sudhir, बच्चा हो गया घर पे, एक बीमा लेना है बच्चे के नाम पे. बच्चे को तो बीमा की जरूरत है ही नहीं.
Yeah.
Insurance is something what the person who's earning, who's the breadwinner in the family, you need the insurance, right?
Right.
These insurance companies are also very smart. What they do, they will make you the proposer
Mm-hmm.
and make the child the life insured.
Right.
प्रपोजर तो आप हो, पैसे तो आप भर रहे हो, एंड पेरेंट खुश हो जाता है, चलो इसमें टैक्स सेविंग मिल गया हमें. अभी एटलीस्ट इन द न्यू टैक्स रेजिम यू डोंट गेट दैट. सो एंड ऑल्सो थैंक्स टू निर्मला सीतारामन एंड RBI, they have put some strict norms on the banks as well, not to missell all the insurance policies, plus the tax changes which has happened. So ये सब policies थोड़ा कम बिक रही है अभी.
Got it. So essentially, the hidden benefit is that Indians are sort of leaving some of these bad investment habits behind. a
Right,
little
and
bit.
focusing more on wealth creation.
Got it. So for someone earning say around 60 lakhs per year, okay, what is a healthy split of investment across mutual funds, real estate, bonds, and even something like crypto?
Okay, great. So a healthy broad framework could be around 50 to 60% in equity-based mutual funds.
Okay.
Second could be 10 to 20% in debt
Okay.
debt mutual funds or bonds. Third will be 15 to 25% in your real estate.
Okay.
Fourth would be 5 to 10% in international exposure. It can also go up to 20% if your risk appetite allows you that. And 0 to 5% in crypto, in FNOs, only if your risk appetite allows you. कुछ नहीं समझ में आ रहा तो जीरो करो तो भी चलेगा. Please don't go into that FOMO वाला thing कि यार मेरे दोस्त ने किया, because all your friends are actually just showing you the green portfolio.
Yes. When
Nobody is going to show you the red portfolio, right, Kshitij?
I have actually seen this in action You won't believe, because this is again something that I fell for, in the sense, from a narrative perspective. I never went and invested in these kinds of things, right? Because I tend to see at these things a little skeptically. But this especially happened in the futures and options days, where I have seen some friends post, on all the days that their portfolio turned green, but not on the days when the portfolio is red. Because you have this survivor bias kicked in, you actually don't realize that that person is not posting every day. They're only posting certain days. You assume that, oh, they traded today and today they succeeded, but essentially they are actually trading every day. They just post when they're green,
Right.
not when they're red.
Absolutely.
And this just misguides you into assuming. It's sort of, your brain fills in the blanks with zero proof, zero conviction, and straight out fear. And then you just find that friend and say, boss, I don't have time, why don't you invest my money?
Correct.
And they might even take it, and then whatever happens happens.
Right.
So what is the best salary structure to aim for once you cross the 3 to 5 lakh per month mark?
So I feel once you have crossed 3 to 5 lakh per month benchmark, you are comfortably living a decent lifestyle in any city of India, even a tier 1 city.
Yeah.
Tier 3 में तो life set है आपकी. So at that stage, people should optimize for wealth creation, not just taxation. At that stage also, there would be a lot of opportunity if you are working with a startup or an early stage company, that you could actually go for an ESOP.
Okay.
So maybe if there is an option for you to lower down your salary and get more involved with ESOP, please talk to your HR or the company founders over there. Focus on maximizing long-term investments rather than working for short-term. Because short-term में you're guaranteed at least कि अगले 5 साल में you will have a good income if you're at that income range, right? Start working towards allocating money on your retirement. Because the kind of lifestyle that you're living right now with a 5 lakh income on a monthly basis, जब retire होगे तो it is going to be very expensive.
Right.
And to live that kind of salary, to have that kind of lifestyle, could be a challenge for you if you're spending everything today and not investing for the future. Make sure you have a good health insurance and term insurance. We'll cover that topic later. कितना होना चाहिए. And structure income wherever relevant. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने पूरा का पूरा equity funds में डाल दिया. Keep something for short term. There should be 3 buckets. Something for short term, something for mid term, 3 to 5 years, something for long term, anything more than 5 years.
Okay. Now, here you mentioned ESOPs at the start. Aren't ESOPs a little risky
It
compared
is
to
risky, yes.
mutual funds?
It is risky. It
So,
is
are
very
there
risky.
any ways where one can sort of gauge how risky their company's ESOPs could be? Are there any metrics that
So see, the
people
trend
should
in
look
India,
for?
Kshitij, is only 10 to 20% of startups do well,
Okay.
and they survive for the next 10 to 15 years. So if you are working in a startup or an early stage company, and if you are one of the core team members, who better than you, who would understand what is the company's financial? Sit with your accountant, sit with your finance team, sit with the CFO, समझो उसका books क्या है. ChatGPT का help ले लो यार. Just put the books over there. ChatGPT will tell you what is the forecast of the company. And only if you think it is worth taking ESOPs or maybe worth vesting shares, तो ले लो, option है. Because ESOPs will always be a greater wealth generation platform than your mutual fund.
100%.
Mutual fund आपको consistently 10-12%
But
return
if
देगा.
it succeeds, right?
If
That's a
it
big
succeeds, yes. The ratio of it to succeed more than mutual fund is less.
Right.
But if it succeeds, and maybe if you're putting 5% of your wealth, why not?
Got it. So, are there any specific questions that employees should ask before going for their ESOPs? Any 5, 10 crucial things, data points they should know from their startup?
So if it is a service or manufacturing industry, check your company's order book and check how many repeat orders are there. Check your company's financials. ये 2-3 चीज़ देख लिया तो काफ़ी है.
Okay.
And cash flow कैसा है, काफ़ी कुछ समझ जाएगा ये 2-3 चीज़ से.
Okay. Now, especially in startups, I think both of these metrics might not always give a good answer, mainly because modern startups rely more on cash burn and round based evaluations, right? So, in those cases, are there any other modern metrics that they should look for? Like last round raising value, pre-seed valuation, post money valuation, etc.
As you rightly said, Kshitij, most of the startups are in the stage of burning cash and still raising funds.
Yes.
But there is high chance that at some day when they go for another fundraising round, they may not even get funds.
Right.
So maybe that time you should start avoiding. उस time पे just focus 5% of your wealth in ESOPs and vesting your shares. The rest 95% you can go in convictional methods जो चल रहा है market में.
Again, this being the safe approach.
Right, this is just safer. But if you are very bullish on your company कि पता है founder ने क्या बोला है, and you have also been given a piece of cake, you know what is happening, then why not go for a bigger chunk? Because wealth can only be created when you're owning piece of equity.
Right.
आप सैलरी में कभी भी wealth create नहीं कर पाओगे, right? तो सैलरी अपना इन्वेस्ट करते रहो, एफडी भी करो, लेकिन ये भी करो.
Got it. You mentioned behind the cameras about something called SIP to income ratio, which I found very interesting. And you said that is also one of the most important metrics. So can you just talk more about it?
Yes, Kshitij. So this is one of my favorite metrics to measure because total investment amount alone means nothing.
Okay.
A person who's earning 1 lakh rupees a month and doing an SIP of 40,000 is any day doing better than a person who's earning 10 lakh rupees a month and just investing 1 lakh.
Okay.
Because that person who's earning 10 lakhs is just investing 10%. And this person who's investing 1 lakh is almost investing 30 to 40% of his income.
Got it.
So this person who's the first person who's investing 30 to 40,000 on a monthly basis is going to definitely do well than the second person. So ideal SIP ratio, SIP to income ratio should be minimum 20%, maximum कोई limit नहीं, लेकिन 40% कर दिया तो बहुत अच्छा है.
Got it.
And maintain that. As soon as your salary increases, make sure your SIP is also increasing.
Okay, so you are essentially saying you can invest between 20 to 40% of your monthly salary into SIPs, they'll give you a good return. But you also have something called annual bonuses. Now, generally people just piss away their bonuses because, happy times and nothing bad about it. But is there a strategic way, if someone who really wants to be aggressive, is there a strategic way to invest your annual bonuses?
So Kshitij, the best strategy is to decide before the bonus arrives.
Okay.
I'll tell you a funny story. One of my clients, he used to get around 3 to 4 lakhs of bonus on a yearly basis at a decent level. He's at a mid management level in a big corporate.
Okay.
3 से 4 लाख का बोनस आता था. पूरा का पूरा पैसा used to spend on his leisure, maybe travel, vacation कुछ हो गया, or maybe guilt free spending.
Okay.
We decided it next year से 50% of this amount has to go into investments.
Okay.
Irrespective of your bonus amount. If it is 1 lakh तो 50,000 जाएगा. 4 लाख है तो 2 लाख आप इन्वेस्ट करोगे. Remaining 20% you can use for your goals, travel, कुछ भी. बाकी 20% if you have a big home loan or a personal loan, use it for your debt reduction.
Okay.
And the remaining 10% can go into guilt-free shopping.
Okay.
Because of all these apps, Amazon, ये सब, right? एक बड़ा सा कोई speaker खरीद लिया, कुछ भी खरीद लिया. So maybe 10% of that can go into there, or maybe you can add this 10% to your 20% goal of vacation. तो 30% vacation में कर दो, 20% आपका emergency reservation रखो या तो debt reduction रखो, and the remaining 50% has to go into investment. सबसे पहले investment करो, उसके बाद बाकी कुछ करो.
Got it.
And eventually, Kshitij, that client of ours realized more than his SIP amount, this bonus that he's investing 50% on a yearly basis has actually created good wealth for him.
Oh.
So this can actually be your wealth creation platform, the bonus on a yearly basis which you're getting.
So these one-time
bonus.
Got it. So these one-time bonuses can probably help you alleviate some of the pressure that lifestyle generally creeps into
Right.
it, right? But functionally or rather structurally, how can one avoid this lifestyle bloat?
So two major expenses that every salaried person has. One is their car and second is their home, right? So first rule that we have for all our clients, do not buy a car which is worth more than 6 to 9 months of your monthly income.
Okay.
This is your post-tax income.
Okay.
Second rule, what we follow at Brew Wealth, the total EMI should ideally remain between 30 to 35% of your take-home income.
Okay.
Most people overestimate what they can buy and underestimate long-term stress. If you're just following these two rules, your life should be sorted.
How many percent of people really follow this, like that you have seen before at least coming to you?
Not a lot. Most of people who come to us through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they are too much into debt.
Okay.
Because see, Kshitij, you go to buy as basic as a washing machine. पहले वो washing machine 25-30 हज़ार की you'll have to pay upfront. Now there are so many finance schemes.
Yeah.
You take a no cost EMI. एक washing machine का EMI ले लिया, एक home theater का EMI ले लिया, एक कार का EMI हो गया, एक home loan हो गया. Eventually people started realizing 70 to 80% तो पूरा EMIs में जा रहा है. फर्स्ट को सैलरी आ रही है, थर्ड को खट 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 करके 1 लाख का सीधा बचा है उनके पास 20,000।
राइट।
अब वो खाएंगे क्या, इन्वेस्ट क्या करेंगे? दैट इज वेयर वी स्टार्टेड पुटिंग स्ट्रक्चर्स। काफी क्रेडिट कार्ड्स बंद कराए लिटरली। आई हैड इन फ्रंट ऑफ माई क्लाइंट उनका क्रेडिट कार्ड, उनको बोला फाड़ो, खत्म करो इसको। वाइफ वॉज नॉट हैप्पी बट द क्लाइंट वॉज वेरी हैप्पी।
It's really important because I see these credit cards and these microfinances as a good and bad. The good is a lot of products have become accessible. It does help in making your life a little easier. At the same time, they have become so accessible that people are not really tactical about it. So I think uh, when someone like you comes into the picture before a purchase is made, at the very least, it can be planned. It's not necessarily right to say don't buy a dishwasher. I mean, if a dishwasher is going to reduce your dependence on house help,
Correct.
and if your house help is going to charge you 2,000 per month, instead if you can put that 2,000 towards a dishwasher, it can technically be seen as an asset.
Right.
You just have to plan it out properly.
Right. Absolutely.
And the same way as you would say something like dishwasher, buying versus renting out a house help, is it better to buy or rent a home in major cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru? And how do we do the math to decide?
In cities like Mumbai and Bangalore, buying is not always financially superior.
Okay.
You have to consider few facts. Firstly, you'll have to see rental yield. Usually, in cities like Bombay and Bangalore, for a 1 crore property, 3 to 4% is the ideal rental yield. If it is 3%, matlab 3 lakh, 4% matlab 4 lakhs. Right? Now divide that 3 lakhs by 12. So for a 1 crore property that you have to take a loan and pay the EMIs, you can get the property at 25,000 rent also. So you'll have to do the maths. Second, you have to consider EMI burden. Is that EMI coming under 30 to 35% of your salary? If yes, then it's okay.
Got it.
Third, you have to look at the opportunity cost. Is paying the EMI better and being stuck with the cash flow for the next 20 years better, or you want to invest that amount to a revenue where you're generating maybe 12% returns? Second is maintenance and property appreciation. Property appreciation is also 3 to 4% on a yearly basis in India. Final point, if you think that you're going to stay in that city for the next 20 years, it makes a lot of sense to buy.
Got it.
तभी सब मैथ्स साइड में रखो और घर खरीद लो.
Got it.
But if you're not even sure, now we have a few clients who are from tier 3 cities and working in IT companies and based in Bengaluru now. 2 साल काम कर रहे हैं और फिर घर ले रहे हैं.
Okay.
And they are not even sure of कि वो employer उनको रखेगा कि नहीं with AI coming in. Right? ऐसा ना हो that you are not working for that company or not staying in Bangalore and you're still servicing that EMI.
Right.
And you go back to your hometown maybe in Lucknow.
Correct.
तो लखनऊ का भी आपके खर्चे चालू है, बेंगलुरु का EMI भी चालू है, क्योंकि rent will not cover your EMI. If you are guaranteed of your job for the next 20 years, immediately घर खरीदो.
Got it.
Because उस time पे emotional stability will matter a lot. And obviously your child will go to the school. You can't keep changing your house every 3 years, right? That is where it makes a lot of sense to buy a house if you're staying there for a long term. And also the EMI should be comfortable.
And I think one small factor that people, I won't say they forget, but sort of fail to consider early on in these purchase decisions is the down payment amount.
Absolutely.
Because if
It's a
you're looking
huge
at
cost.
a 20% down payment amount, we have to understand that amount is not going to get any returns. That amount is gone and sunk and stuck essentially forever. Plus, you need to have it at hand. And there is an opportunity cost of instead putting that huge down payment into a mutual fund right now and forgetting it for the next 20, 30 years. So that factor, I think people always forget.
Right. But see, Kshitij, in India, buying a home is an emotional decision. The person who's paying the loan, parents, both sides of the parents, husband, wife, the couple, the child, it's a very emotional decision. If it is your first home, ज़्यादा दिमाग मत लगाओ, घर खरीद लो. अगर एक घर है, second घर लेना है, then you can take a call.
Got it. Got it. I mean, generally, at least I feel Indians would be helped if they're less emotional. But anyway, that's a separate conversation. So you spoke about the second home, right? In today's market, is second home a genuine investment or is it more like a lifestyle liability in your opinion?
It is more like a lifestyle liability, and it will give you a nice ego boost in front of your friends, family. कि चलो आई एम सो सक्सेसफुल दैट एक घर का तो ईएमआई भर रहा हूँ, दूसरे घर का भी ईएमआई भर रहा हूँ, right? But there are a few clients of ours, Kshitij, who have actually invested in a second home. The house is debt free now. They are not paying any EMIs on it, and whatever rental amount that they are accumulating, they are reinvesting that amount after all the maintenance and expenses, and वो भी grow हो रहा है.
How does that happen?
So let's say your property value is 2 crores, where you are expecting 3% annually the property to appreciate, and you are going to hold that property for the next 30 years. Okay? And current monthly rent, net of all the taxes and everything, is 60,000. उसके बाद let's assume 10,000 goes into property maintenance, your government fees, property taxes हो गया, कुछ भी any other charges, तो बचता आपके पास 50,000 a month है. एंड रेंट यूजुअली कभी कभी 10% बढ़ता है ऑन ईयरली बेसिस, कभी 5% बढ़ता है, कभी कुछ नहीं बढ़ता है. सो लेट्स कंसिडर ऑन एन एवरेज यू विल द रेंटल यील्ड विल बी 5% इंक्रीजिंग ऑन अ ईयरली बेसिस, राइट? Invest that 50,000 plus 5% top up into an equity based SIP. Assume, not guaranteed, assume that it will give you 12% return.
Right.
क्षितिज 50,000 पर मंथ इन्वेस्ट करके 30 साल के बाद द वैल्यू विल बी 23.37 करोड़.
ओके.
एंड जो प्रॉपर्टी आपने 2 करोड़ की ली थी,
राइट,
अगर वो 3% पे भी अप्रिशिएट हो, मैं 5% नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, मैं 10% नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, 3% पे भी अप्रिशिएट हो, उसकी वैल्यू हो जाएगी 4.85.
ओके.
द वैल्यू विल बी 28.23 करोड़.
हाँ.
सो नेट जो आपका ग्रोथ होने वाला था 2 करोड़ प्लस 3% ईयर ऑन ईयर, आफ्टर 30 years इट वुड हैव बीन जस्ट 4.85 करोड़. उसकी वैल्यू अब हो जाएगी 28.23 करोड़ इफ यू आर एक्चुअली यूजिंग इट इन अ स्मार्ट मैनर. So 3% के बदले your rental yield and everything after investing in mutual funds will be around 9.23% yield year on year basis. So this is a very smart way that few of our clients have started doing this. They have started investing their second property's money also into equity based mutual fund. तो second property भी है, and then they can decide कि third property उनको commercial लेने की क्या करना है. Also the thumb rule remains the same here also. 35% maximum of your income should go into EMIs. ऐसा नहीं कि 35 plus 35 70%. No, for the second property. Second property मिला के it has to be 35%. Because if it is goes above 35%, then your mathematics will shake a bit, and you will not be able to save for your future.
Since we're talking about second homes, as you rightly said, you can't really concentrate all of your investment only into EMIs and be heavily reliant on properties in tier 1 cities. So just to diversify, say maybe in tier 2 or tier 3 cities, so are there still any hidden gems in tier 2 and tier 3 cities that can give a really good return with a development wave?
Absolutely, but I would say infrastructure matters more than hype. So ideally, if you're looking for tier 2, tier 3 cities, you should look for manufacturing corridors. You should look for new places where educational hubs are coming in, new IT parks are coming in, airport connectivity is there, and employment generation. Would you actually get a job if you're taking a home over there? Or if you want to put it on rent, would the rental person be actually getting a job? So Mumbai 3.0, which the current government is focusing on, could be a good idea. Maybe you can do your own research and check.
So Sudhir, we have heard a lot that commercial and retail properties give a better ROI. So why don't salaried professionals ever go for these kinds of commercial and retail properties, especially for their second investment, second real estate investment, as opposed to going for another house or an apartment?
So that's a very valid question. We have to realize one thing: commercial properties or retail properties would make a lot of sense for business owners like you and me, or someone else who's having an office of his own. कि चलो रेंट पे नहीं लेके खुद का ऑफिस यूज कर लेंगे. But let's say there is a salaried person. Let's say I'm a salaried person. It doesn't make sense for me to buy that property और फिर उसको रेंट पे डालो. रेंट नहीं मिला तो खुद का ऑफिस तो यूज नहीं कर सकता because I'm anyways going to an office. Why people are actually preferring residential properties more? Let's say I have a second property जिसकी वैल्यू 1 करोड़ है. After 10 years, maybe that property value is around 1.5 crores, assuming just random figure. तो 1.5 करोड़ की प्रॉपर्टी अगर मैं बेच रहा हूँ, there will be a capital gain of 50 lakhs. I will have to pay tax to the government, or I can buy another property, residential property, and make sure that I don't have to pay zero tax. This is a loophole, or maybe government is promoting this, that people should buy more residential properties. But this kind of leverage people don't have on a commercial property. If you're buying a commercial property today, उसकी वैल्यू 1 करोड़ है, 5 साल के बाद उसकी वैल्यू 1 करोड़ 50 लाख हो गई. The 50 lakhs capital gain, if you're selling, you'll have to pay tax on that property. So hence people are preferring to buy a residential property than a commercial property. और जो बिजनेस ओनर्स होते हैं वो प्रेफर करते हैं कि चलो कमर्शियल प्रॉपर्टी ले लेते हैं, अगर नहीं भी गया रेंट पे तो दूसरा ब्रांच ओपन कर लेंगे, तो अपना ऑफिस एक्सपांड कर देंगे वहाँ पे.
Okay, now that you have diversified your investments, say you have bought a property, you have bought second property, whatever it is, when does it make sense to prepay a home loan, and when is it better to keep that capital invested?
So Kshitij, this broadly depends on 4 factors. First is your loan interest rate. What is the interest that you're paying for the loan? Second is tax benefits. If you're in the old tax regime, are you taking benefit of the tax or not? Market opportunity. What are the other options? If you're taking a loan at 7.3 and if your investments are growing at 12%, so what is better for you? You have to realize that. And fourth and final is emotional comfort.
Okay.
If someone cannot sleep peacefully with the kind of home loan that they have, prepayment will actually help you emotionally.
Okay.
But mathematically, if long-term investments can reasonably outperform loan cost, investing may create higher wealth for you.
All right.
So recently, one of my clients, he had taken a loan of 1 crore. His property value was approximately 1.5 crores, and the loan tenure was of 20 years. Rate of interest was at 7.3. The EMI, monthly EMI, was at around 79,341 to be precise, for 20 years. We shared a presentation with him that if he is investing 26.09% of the EMI amount, that is 20,701, and assume that he gets 12% returns in equity-based mutual funds for the next 20 years, he will actually accumulate 1.9 CR, which will be total of principal and interest. We have to realize, Kshitij, that if you are taking a loan of 1 crore, it is not only 1 crore that we are paying.
Right.
1 crore is just the principal amount. Almost 90 lakhs, 41,000 is your interest amount as well.
Which is essentially the same amount, like
Almost the same amount. So, matlab,
your investment.
whatever your loan is, right? So why not invest 26% of your home loan into a SIP for long term and assume that you get 12% returns? Your entire loan will be recovered.
So you're saying if I invest 25% of the amount of my EMI,
Right.
I will actually get my money back after
Correct.
20
After
years?
20 years. So in this case 26.09, but overall you can safely say 25%. तो अगर आपका 1 लाख का EMI है, anyone who's having an EMI of 1 lakh, Kshitij, can easily do an SIP of 25,000. Is it difficult? Not at all, right?
Not
क्योंकि
really.
30% अगर आपका home loan है of your salary, you can do 25% of that amount also. So 30 plus another 7.5%, 37.5, you can actually invest for your future.
Correct.
थोड़ा पैसा वहाँ पे, थोड़ा पैसा यहाँ पे.
Right.
You are actually recovering the entire home loan amount just by investing 25% of what you call quarter class investing, right? Before
Yeah.
the podcast we were discussing
Yeah.
about. So this is called quarter class investing.
Got it. So essentially, the simplest way to look at what we are sort of calling quarter class investing is take roughly 25-26%
Right.
of any EMI amount, invest that in a mutual fund for the same tenure as your EMI.
Correct.
You can actually make all of your money back
Absolutely.
with simple maths.
But this would only work in case of home loan,
Got it.
because home loan is one of the cheapest loans that you could ever take.
Okay.
It is just available at 7.3%.
Right.
Imagine. आप मुझे ये बताओ, what is the rate of interest for credit card if you're taking a loan on credit card?
Anywhere between 24 to 50%, depending on your
So
terms.
if you have a credit card debt, if you have a personal loan debt which is more than 12-15%, pay it off. SIP रोक दो 3-4 महीने के लिए, लेकिन पे ऑफ करो अपना क्रेडिट कार्ड एंड पर्सनल लोन.
Okay.
If you have business loan, business तो anyways you are earning from business and repaying that.
Repaying
So
that.
that is okay. Car loan and home loan are one of the cheapest loans available. Please do not pay it. But again, if it is bothering you emotionally, that you know what, it is a huge burden on you, तो फिर वो pay off करके खत्म करो.
Got it. Because I
But
think
financially it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think the question is how healthy of a relation you have with money. So if you have an emotionally stable relationship with money, I think you can get away with not paying off cheap home loan EMIs all at once and rather investing that money. And if you don't have an emotionally stable relationship with money, then maybe the best thing for you is get rid of that.
Certainly. Bang on.
Now let's talk windfall investments. Let's say someone has 50 lakhs sitting in their bank account. Okay. What would your plan for them be?
So, Kshitij, for windfall amount, one should never deploy large money emotionally or immediately.
Okay.
There should always be a structured way of investing.
Mhm.
Firstly, you need to make sure that you have 6 months of expenses which is in place. That is called your emergency reserve.
Hmm.
Maybe park that amount in a liquid fund or your FD, which is at least fetching you 6% returns, which is at least not beating inflation, but at par with inflation.
Okay.
Second, you should have your short term needs separated. If you're going to buy a car or maybe make a down payment for your home, usko alag rakh lo.
All right.
And then whatever money you have left, maybe around 40 lakhs out of the 50 lakhs, you can park in equity based funds, but that should be phased deployment through STP. Now we spoke about SIP and SWP.
Yeah.
Everyone is aware about SIP and SWP.
SWP.
Now we'll talk about STP. What is STP? STP is systematic transfer plan.
Okay.
So let's say you have 40 lakhs. Out of the 50 lakhs, 10 lakhs you keep aside for emergency.
All right.
The remaining 40 lakhs you can park in a liquid fund. From that liquid fund, there are three options. Either you do a daily STP, weekly STP, or a monthly STP to equity funds.
Okay.
Now, how does that help you? If you're parking your money in savings account में आपको 2% return मिलेगा.
Right.
In liquid funds, you can expect 5 to 6%. Sometimes it goes higher also, 6.57 भी जाता है. But let's say 6%. 6% तो base पे मिल रहा है.
Right.
And from that base, you're investing in a staggered manner in equity-based mutual funds,
Okay.
which will remove the herd mentality.
Got it.
कि चलो आज इन्वेस्ट करना है मार्केट नीचे है, आज इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना है मार्केट ऊपर है.
Right.
It will remove that herd mentality and it will automate your investments.
Got it. Put a discipline, and also at any given point, you're constantly matching inflation.
Absolutely.
So you're
With the
not
base amount that you have.
so you're not essentially reducing the value of your cash.
Correct.
At the same time, maintaining a standard discipline of keeping your investment alive in mutual funds and other monthly tools.
Bang on, bang on. So one example, while I was working for a bank, that time COVID happened.
Okay.
One of my client actually got around 30 lakhs.
Oh.
Windfall, मतलब कुछ LIC पॉलिसी दे बहुत पुरानी उनके पेरेंट्स की.
Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately, the parent passed away.
Passed away. Okay.
He got the 30 lakhs amount, and that time he was very scared to invest in equity-based mutual funds because obviously you saw what happened, right?
Yeah.
But after discussing with me, he got comfortable. He said, "Okay, Sudhir, I'm okay to park this amount," and we chose the STP way.
Got it.
Now, Kshitij, that investment of his is one of the best investments in his portfolio today because he took risk at that time and he was confident about India as an economy.
Right.
बाकी सब पे भरोसा मत करो, सुधीर पे भरोसा मत करो, किसी पे भरोसा मत करो, मोदी पे भी भरोसा मत करो. But look at our economy.
Yeah.
8% GDP, mota mota.
Right.
6% inflation.
Yeah.
So economy is growing. India is going to grow, and we are still a developing economy. We are not a developed economy.
Right.
It is difficult for you to make money when you are in developed economy. But for the next 20 years, with the government's vision also to be a developed economy in 2047, if that happens, the next 20 years are actually Amrit Kal for India. Trust in India and keep investing in India.
Got it. One of the biggest assets that India has, and I have spoken about this even in our podcast with Jayant last month, sorry, that I think one of India's biggest asset is India's youth, India's younger population. They themselves alone are sort of ambassadors of growth.
Right.
As has been the case with any other growing economy, right? The younger population is always going to ensure that they themselves will grow regardless. So betting on India does make sense in that way. I just hope that sort of government is able to take mature decisions to unlock that growth. Maybe they invest better in research instead of putting a measly 0.5% of GDP. If we start behaving like Japan,
right,
and put in an aggressive 5-8% of amount in R&D, maybe we'll do much better.
Certainly.
Now, I know that there are products a little ahead of mutual funds, right? So when does an investor graduate from simple mutual funds to PMFs or AIFs? And is that 50 lakh barrier for these kinds of investment still an existing problem?
Yes. So in fact, for the larger audience, I'll just explain what is PMS, what is AIF. PMS earlier used to be a ticket size of 10 lakhs, then the SEBI increased it to 25 lakhs. Now they have in fact implemented a 50 lakh ticket size barrier if anyone wants to invest in PMS. PMS ka full form hai Portfolio Management Service. Then there is a new product called AIF.
Okay.
Alternate Investment Funds. This starts with a barrier of 1 crore. Anyone who wants to invest with a threshold of 1 crore only can invest in AIF.
Okay.
Now, both these investments comes with a sizable amount. Your portfolio size is meaningful, not that your entire corpus or your entire net worth is worth 1 crore and you invest entire amount in AIF. Because AI is concentrated. AIF is concentrated. You will invest only in those 15, 20 stocks.
Mm-hmm.
So the benchmark that we follow at Brew Wealth, if your portfolio size is around 5 crore, then you can look into PMS. And if your portfolio size, the net worth that you have is around 10 crore, not real estate including, liquid net worth is around 10 crores, then one should go for AIF. Otherwise, stay away from AIF and PMS. Mutual funds can do that job for you.
Got it.
And it is also better in way of tax optimization.
Got it. So essentially, the barrier is a little high, but once you reach the state of having a liquid asset net worth of between 5 and 10 crores,
That is when you should look for this.
that is the time you graduate from mutual funds. Okay. And between that and someone doing typical mutual funds, are there any sort of middle grounds where people can invest in something more sophisticated than a mutual fund, but have a little less money than going for PMS or AF?
Yes, Kshitij. So investors today have excellent options. Recently, around 6 to 9 months back, SEBI launched one more category called SIF, which is Specialized Investment Funds. Now, SIFs comes with a ticket size of 10 lakhs. So the benefits of investing in SIF is it is factor-based investing. These are usually smart beta products. The fund manager can do a put and call option, which is not available in mutual funds. So let's say, just an example, if you're bullish on HDFC, you can do a buy call on HDFC.
Okay.
And if you're bearish on ICICI, you can very well do a sell call on ICICI.
Okay.
And happening in the same fund. In mutual funds, what happens? आपको खरीदना है और बेचना है.
Right.
Either you have to buy
It's essentially a bullish call in that
bullish
sense.
call, yeah, absolutely. But here you can take a bearish call as well.
Okay. And all of that managed within the single fund.
Within the single fund, yes. So SIF is a very new category.
Interesting.
It has not performed that well in the last 6 to 9 months, obviously because of the market conditions and geopolitical situation.
Right.
But we are bullish. Let's hope for the best in the future. It could be a good alternative to people who want to invest in PMS, but they are not yet ready with the ticket size, and they have reached a ticket size of maybe 1 crore or 1.5 crore. They can invest in it. They should try one SIF at least and go with a hybrid SIF initially, rather than choosing an equity SIF.
Got it. That does make sense. And so, guys, you talk to your financial advisors about these things. Obviously, these are not the kind of instruments that you would just want to go into blind.
Right.
So the conversation is so interesting that we sort of extended our time. We overshot our time by a lot, but we were so happy to do it that we are probably going to cut this into 2 parts. So if you are at the end of part 1, please be rest assured we are still editing the rest of the video, and next week you will come back for the second part of this conversation. I'm so glad to see you all still here at the end of the video. Our team has worked extra hard to bring this kind of quality conversation to you, and we can only get better with your help. So please share your feedbacks in the comments, and please let us know where we can do better. You can also suggest ideas for our next videos, and maybe even suggest guests for the upcoming episodes. And thank you so much for your time. Please make sure to subscribe so that you get the notification for the next video. And finally, if you too think that you have something to say of value to the world, please fill out the guest invitation form in the descriptions and join me here on the Building Something pod, because you too are building something. Thank you.